What's up, YouTube? It's your girl DeeDee, and I'm back at it. So I'm back with another reaction video for you guys. Now this comes from Ilkhan Ali, Team Fatty, and also the angry man on this particular episode really went in on the discussion they were having about the patriarchy and how, you know, the patriarchy ruled women and how women had to fight to get out of it. Angry Man kind of chimed in on this and they had the conversation. I want to play a bit from this. We're gonna hop right into it. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload new content. Share and like the video, you guys. And also leave your thoughts in the comments below, all right? Let's go ahead and get into the video. Here we go.
All women live under a man's
Every woman
rule.
is not modern out here.
All women live under a man's rule.
All these trad wives out here, y'all can't find one?
All women live under a man's rule. And you're delusional if you think you don't. Number one, the patriarchy was not set up to spite women. The reason why the patriarchy exists is because throughout history, you have been the weaker of the two sexes. And up until recently, you definitely needed men for everything. You would not have survived. So the only reason the patriarchy or the rule of men even exists in the first place is because you were in a situation where if you did not have men to hunt the animals, men to fend off other tribes, to fend off wild animals, all of those different things, you wouldn't have survived all the way up until recently, all the way up until recent history.
Can you cite your sources on where you have the facts to show
it's
that?
Called history.
Okay, can you please cite the historical facts that without being under a man's rule that women would somehow do?
What is patriarchy?
Okay, well, patriarchy is generally understood as a social system in which men hold primary power.
Okay, stop
right there. Stop right there. Dominant roles.
Stop right there. Stop right there.
Let me finish.
No, we're not gonna play. No, we're not playing feminism today.
I'm asking you what the basic.
No. We're not doing that. I'm asking you what the basic of patriarchy is. You said the rule of men. You said the rule. I'm giving it to you. Look it up, babe. Look it up. You said the rule of men. So let's stop right there for a second.
I didn't say that. If you will let me. I didn't say anything about rules. You're not listening. I never said anything about rules.
How did men come into the position of being the rulers?
Okay, so like I said, it's understood as a social system in which men hold primary power.
This is why y'all don't run. This is why y'all don't run. This is why you don't run. This is why you never run.
Let me one second. Let me clarify.
This is a tug of war for who's right and who's wrong. And this is the tug of war that a lot of women have with men because they think they know better. And then when you're confronted with actual facts, listen, I've heard this from another panel or another person or several other people who talk about the patriarchy and how it got started. And it wasn't created to, you know, it wasn't women, from what I understand, it wasn't women who pushed back on it. It was something that was put in place by a few men who men actually started the feminist movement. Actually, men who, well, not the feminist movement. It was men, a group of men who got together to try to, I guess, help women in a sense. With all of this, I'm not too sure on it, but it's not the way most women look at it. Women just believe that, women were so fed up, and then one day they all got together. And they all got together and they started the feminist movement, and it didn't happen like that. It was actually it was men who came together to assist and create that. It wasn't a bunch of women who were hell bent and held back and decided, let's push back against this. It didn't happen the way that they thought. And then they also say too how women had freedoms then. It wasn't that they were all just oppressed and they were so downtrodden they couldn't do anything. And it was also mentioned that a lot of the women could read better than the men because the men were not embraced in education and books because they had to go fight in the war. So the women were left to fend for them, to be at home with the kids. And so they had more access to books and reading and knowledge. So they were very good at that. So they were, were able to teach and do things of that nature. So it wasn't that the women were just completely oppressed and they couldn't do anything. But the way they speak about the patriarchy as if it was such a downtrodden thing and women couldn't do anything, they make you believe that. And this is, once again, is the argument that you have amongst men and women and how it came about. And it's just a discrepancy between what you want to believe versus what actually was. This topic is always going to take a left turn because there are people who believe one thing versus people who believe another. But nevertheless, it's an interesting conversation. But let's continue.
What the Angry Man is asking
you're more concerned.
I'm giving you the definition.
You're more concerned with I'm a woman and I'm not going to let a man stop me from talking. More concerned with that than the actual conversation. What I'm
trying to give you what patriarchy literally means.
What I'm saying to you.
Hey, 1 second.
What I'm saying to you.
Hey, Angry Man, 1 second, bro. Hey, 1 second, friends.
Weird.
This is ridiculous.
Jazz. Hey, Angry Man, 1 second.
You asking me to give you a definition?
Hey. How did men got that power? How did they get it?
Well, because I believe they got that power because they were the brawnier species, so they felt that women wouldn't be able to defend themselves if they were to control them.
It's not felt.
If that's the case, why not rule over other men?
There's no
if that's not the case, why not rule over
men? Men do rule over other men. See, this is what I mean by
in the same way that you rule over. If that was the case,
men do rule over other men.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Okay, but what I'm saying is, but men were able to have access in our economy and were able to vote and have rights.
Not all of them.
Way before women did.
No,
before women did, though, right?
Stop. No. First of all, you don't know. See, this is what's funny about this. You're asking me to cite my sources. You don't even know history. All men were not able to vote. Back in the day, only men that were
economy
She don't like to listen. She want to be right. That's one thing I noticed and seeing her on these podcasts. She don't like to listen. She just want to be right. And that's the problem. Just sometimes just take a step back and listen. But when you're so entrenched in your own thoughts and feelings, you don't want to listen to what nobody else has to say or fathom the idea that somebody else might know a little bit more in certain areas. It doesn't take away from what you know. It's just sometimes you just have to listen and then be quiet. She don't like to listen. Let's continue.
Only men that were landowners were able to vote. And all throughout history, there are so many instances where men, if they were not up to par as men, they didn't have the same rights as other men. This is where you get eunuchs and certain shit like that.
Let me look that up real quick.
You're bugging right now.
Jazz, I save you time. Men only got the right to vote on the 19th century. Most men wouldn't able to vote. One second, please. Just like woman in mass couldn't vote, but men, there was a very short, very small amount of men that actually were able to vote, and those men led over the peasants, the feudal lord, the man of power. So everybody, one sec, let me just correct. Everybody was under patriarchy. Everyone was under patriarchy.
This is why.
What I'm saying is this. If it was about humanity. Well, give me a second. Let me respond to Fatty. Thank you. If it's about humanity and justice for everybody, when all men were able to vote.
Wait. No, I didn't say that. No. You said no. Stop. You said you're replying to me. I didn't say that.
No. What I'm saying
is no. 1 second. It's not about fairness. It's not about humanity. It's about the survival of the fittest. The church and the government and the kings and the bishops and the feudal lords and the men that had land. They had all the power, and all the other men were the bottom of the mother. They was scum of the earth, and they had no power.
So women were not treated as equal. That's the problem with the
men were not. Men were not treated
as equal human beings.
Men were not treated as equal human beings. You're not listening, Jazz.
You shouldn't be able to have access to things just because you're a man, and I shouldn't because I'm a woman.
I just want to clear this up. Jess,
that's weird.
Jess.
Yo, you don't know what you're talking about because your whole fucking head is filled with a bunch of feminist bull.
No,
you don't even understand the history of the damn world.
Definition of patriarchy. You know
that? Yo, chill out. Let's have one mic, please.
All I'm saying is this: when it comes to what patriarchy is, right, and what it was, the actual definition is rooted in male leadership, moral authority, control of property, and when it comes to like, is it rooted in control of women? There are scholars that believe that patriarchy has historically been rooted in controlling women's autonomy in areas like reproduction, in marriage, in labor. So that's why I was saying, like,
so basically the patriarchy is rooted in controlling a woman's body and her autonomy, meaning her choices of what she want to do with her body. So if it's basically, it goes to you being able to delete babies. You want to have the power and the authority to do what you want with your body, because men have controlled your bodies and all that and for years. So now this is what the control that you want to have. If we think about it in today's society, what men don't have any control over what you choose to do with your body. You have the choice to do that. So even if that was the case, does that justify the way women move in today's society? Does it justify women being 304s? You would think that women have some major awakening, like with their bodies. We were controlled back in the day, or because it is not the modern women who had that to worry about. It was the women before us, if that was the case. So if men were controlling your bodies and controlling all of these things that now these women have freedom to have access to, does that mean you would think that there would be some type of awakening to say, oh, we're going to do something greater for the greater good of women, that we're going to promote women to be respectful and hold ourselves, as prime stake in all of this. We're going to be respectful young women. We're going to come out and we're going to show that we have authority over ourselves and that we choose wisely and we're better. Instead, they're promoting a hoish, promiscuous culture that goes and defies any and everything that is honorable or good. It's almost as if you couldn't wait to go outside of the patriarchy to go and choose some whole stuff. Y'all could keep that, because I don't see the point. I really don't. I don't see the point. Let's continue though.
Y'all are saying that it was there to protect us and guide us, but look at how much it suppressed women just because they were women. So that's all I'm saying. There are women out here that want to be traditional. There are women out here that want to adhere to this rule of submission, but give them the choice to do so. And all I was saying, when this whole indoctrination, and you're right, Angry Man, patriarchy can harm men as well, because there's a sense of superiority over somebody else, and we're all equal as human beings. And so all I'm saying is, you can't say that this was it was designed to protect everybody when you deliberately designed it for so long to keep women outside of the same access to the things that you have just because they were women. So it's like, does it protect or does it oppress? It can be both, depending on the perspective. Because a patriarchal system often frame control as protection, but the protection is conditional and reinforces like dependency and limiting a woman's freedom. And critical
yes, we need to respect the clock. Yes, we need to respect the clock.
I'm sorry, that's the clock, my bad. So yeah, that's all I'm saying. Just consider how I get what you're saying, but it can be harmful to women overall.
Angry Man as the mic 1 minute and a half uninterrupted.
Yo, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just like every other modern woman that has allowed feminism to fill your head with a bunch of bullshit and nonsense. Number one, the only reason you even have feminism is because the patriarchy gave it to you. Every single right that you have right now was granted to you by men. It wasn't something that you fought for and gained. So get that out of your head. When it comes to the concept of men, men have not been equal. Back in the day, there were men that were slaves. And I'm not even talking about America. I'm talking about before America. There were men that were lords. There were men that were nobles. There has always been a hierarchy. So it wasn't just women that didn't have certain rights. There was men that didn't have certain rights. The entire reason the concept of patriarchy exists is because there's always been a need for certain men to lead because they were stronger men. There's always been a need for men to structure our society, to structure our community. It wasn't until recently that women started saying, oh, we don't have any rights, when really what you were describing was privilege. What you were describing was, if we're on a boat and it's sinking, women and children first. It was a bunch of white women that said, oh, we don't have any rights. We can't do this. We can't do that, which is ridiculous because now you have women complaining about the fact that you have to go to work, complaining about the fact that you have to be independent.
And that's my point. I'm glad Angry Man pointed that out because the very thing that they fought against is the very same thing that they're complaining about. They don't want to go 50-50. And if women and men are equal, why is it that there are a lot of women complaining about 50-50? That shouldn't be a problem. But there are a lot of women complaining about that. They still want a man to be traditional, which, you know, comes from the patriarchal society, which they're saying, oh, that's, you know, that's a no-no. That's not what we wanted. But there's still women who want the certain aspects of it. But then you want to be this independent woman looked at as a equal to a man as well. So you can't have it both ways. It's like they're complaining about having to go to work and it's too hard and paying all the bills, but you complain about women who didn't have access to all of these things, where the men did, and the men had the control over it. The men made the decisions, but they were the providers. They made the decisions. They provided for the household. They did all of these things while women were left to take care of the household, cook, clean, and the kids. So that wasn't enough because now they want bank accounts, they want money, they want to work. Now you have it. So what's the problem? The majority of women out here who are able to do all these things, nobody's holding you back. They're complaining. And they don't want it. You still want men to be traditional. They still want men to make way more money than them and pay for everything. That's where the argument falls apart because, and I get what Jazz is saying, but that is not how most women want a traditional man, but they want to be modern women. And that's the problem. Let's continue.
So no, patriarchy is not something that you're going to sit here and vilify just because it's something that men created. The whole reason that patriarchy exists is because there has always been weaker people, not just women, but men also, who needed to be protected, who needed structure, who needed a freaking civilization and society to live in. Otherwise, you have anarchy. And if you want to sit here and think that men don't protect women and the patriarchy doesn't protect women, if you didn't have a patriarchy, you would be in a world of shit. You wouldn't be able to walk down the street without having to worry about a man jumping on you and sexually assaulting you. So no, we not going to do that goofy shit.
Everything you said just proved my point. I said it can be harmful to women because you're removing the choice, and you just sat here and tried to make it seem like I should be grateful that men decided to give women the choice to choose from themselves when that shouldn't have even been something to question in the first place. You just said you think you did something, but men let you get that. Men let you do that. That's the problem.
No, I don't think he said it like that. He was just stating the obvious, what it was. You know, women needed the protection of men, and they still do to a degree now. He wasn't saying it like that. He was just stating the facts of what it was. And I think a lot of women do have problems with that because they hate the same way I played this video of this woman arguing with the fact that, you know, whether men are stronger than women, and the majority of men are stronger because they're built differently. And they argue with that as well. It's like they're fighting, trying to create a battle against men to prove that they're better. And then when it's shown that in certain ways you're not better than a man, it's not just about equality for a lot of women. It's about being superior to men. That's really what it is. You know, it's just crazy to me though, but let's continue.
Men feel like they needed to allow us to have autonomy of ourselves just because we are women.
Can I ask you a question?
Dangerous. You don't get a cookie. Hold on. You don't get a cookie to say like to be grateful. No, you should be ashamed.
We absolutely do
get a cookie. You should be ashamed that most men look at women to subjugate them.
We absolutely do get a cookie. We absolutely do get a cookie because if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have running water. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have a home to live in. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have electricity. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have a police force. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have safety. You owe every single thing you have.
Y'all are not safe. Your name is Angry Man. Y'all are not safe.
This comfortable life that you have, you owe it to men. Period.
Let me ask a question to Jess so we can actually move to the rest of the ladies, right? Hey Jess, I like to say this, right? Just because I'm explaining something doesn't mean that I actually agree with, right? Just because I'm explaining something doesn't mean that I agree with. What is wrong about what he said that men allowed women to do it? Because it's true. One second. Oh, Jess, please, 1 second. Let's do what actually happened in history. Most men and women had terrible lives until 200 years ago. There's a reality. Until the Industrial Revolution, until we have all these vaccines and all these inventions and air conditioner and lights in the street and police officers, most of us lived a miserable life. We would work at 5 years old, right? Like this is what we do. A woman would be in automatic danger if she went outside of her house at 6 p.m. A woman would having 10 kids, 7 kids, 5 kids. They were always pregnant, right? Like a woman will be in a very dangerous position if she was doing what men are doing right now. Now they have the infrastructure. We have the cities. We have the cops, the firefighters, the judges, the air conditioner jobs, the skyscrapers. We have everything for you to do something, right? Mm-hmm. So if I say this, throughout 200,000 years, women were submissive to men because they had to, because there was no other choice. And now that men made the world safe enough for women, for their daughters, for their mothers, for their sisters to go outside, the men allow women to actually say, you know what? Now we made the world safer for y'all. Y'all can go on your skimpy Fashion Nova dress to a nightclub at 3 a.m. in the morning and feel how is that bad if it's actually what happened? Right. I'm just explaining what happened. That doesn't mean I agree with it or not. How are you against that? Like men literally allowed women to do that.
Women today.
So were you responding to me? Because I would love to answer
Women today live in heaven compared to just 100 years ago.
We live in heaven. Meanwhile, they are overturning women's rights. But we're in heaven.
Just 100 years ago, what women had to live under compared to what you live under now is drastically different. And guess what? The only reason it has improved is because of men.
No.
Period.
So can I respond to what you said?
Answer that. So what is the reason for improvement? Jess, you muted yourself.
Can you hear me? My bad. So let me just explain why, like, saying things like women need to be grateful that we allowed you. It's very problem.
She has a problem with men, I think. I'm assuming that she has a problem with men. Maybe somebody hurt her, or maybe she wasn't allowed to speak up, or didn't have a say, or somebody, told her she wasn't worth something, because this is not my first time seeing women who speak like that. It comes from a place of hurt. Somebody either hurt these people, or maybe they weren't allowed. Somebody told them what they were saying was always wrong, or you know what I mean, and you or whatever. I don't know if I could be wrong, but I mean the way. I don't know, because there's a way to disagree with a person in a cordial way, and you listen to how people say stuff and the way they come off, and how it says a lot of. You can learn a lot about a person by the way they talk and the way they interact with people, because there's a way to interact in a way that says, oh, okay, well, okay, but when you have to, like, it seems like you have to always have the last word, or you always have to be right. That always make me think of people who never had a voice. Like, you didn't have a voice to say anything, and then when you get a chance, you gonna say what you gonna say, and you don't care what nobody else said. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I've seen that before. But let's continue.
And control.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Angry Man, you can't do that. No, Angry Man, you can't. Angry Man, you can't do that. Angry Man, you can't do that.
You want your children to be grateful. Do you own them?
Man, you can't do that, because if she interrupts you, I can't stop her now. If you are going to interrupt her, as soon as she interrupts you, I can stop her. Finish your statement, Jazz, and Angry Man can respond afterwards, and then we go back to the show. Go ahead.
Thank you, Patty. So like I was saying, saying things like "we allowed you," it kind of frames men as like the gatekeepers of women's freedom, as if like a woman's autonomy is not inherent, just like a man's autonomy is inherent. But instead, it's like a privilege granted by men. That's a patriarchal mindset that oppresses women, right? So it also erases like the woman's struggles, because women like historically fought and kind of continue to fight for voting, working, owning property, body autonomy. You see what's going on right now in the country. They are attacking women's health care left and right, regardless of how you feel about it. It's a problem.
Nobody's attacking women's health care. Nobody's attacking your health care. What are you talking about? This is crazy.
Hey, Jess, so we can move to the topic again. I'm going to ask you a question. If men in mass decided women have no more rights tomorrow, what would happen?
You said what?
Good question.
If men in mass, if me, Ali, Angry Man, every man in the planet decided women are going to go back to what they used to be 300 years ago, there's no more rights, back in the kitchen, you are just a second-class citizen, what would happen?
Oh, I think there would be a big revolt. I think you will have a hard time getting.
I
think you have a hard time. I think you underestimate the power of women getting together and fighting for their safety.
Jess, please, 1 second. Let's be honest. If a man wants to take it, in any regard, he will. Men take from no, Jess, please. Men take from other men. Think about it. Men subjugate other men, not just women. Other men, kids, animals. The human being literally sees a bunch of rhinos, elephants, whatever, and says, you know what? I want that area. I don't give a f about what is that. If I want it, I will get it.
Yeah, Fatty has a point. I think he's pointing out the nature of it. If that's what they want to do, that's what they're going to do. It's not a matter of whether it's right or wrong. We know a lot of things. We know right versus wrong. That's not the point. The point is that, hey, if that's what they're going to do, they're going to do it. They're not arguing whether it's right or wrong. It's just that's just what it is. Let's continue.
This is the history of the human being in the planet. And it's made by men. You actually pointed to men. Y'all did that. What makes you think, Jess? And please answer the question. Don't say what you want to say. Answer me. Let's talk with each other. What makes you think that if me, my dad, and my brother want my mother, my sister, and my daughter to stay at home and to not go anywhere, and there's no consequences, no repercussions, no police, if all men decide these women go right back where they were, what makes you think that women actually can revolt? Like, what makes you think that women are capable of standing up to men if men decide, hey, there's no more rights for y'all? What makes you think?
And I'll find it, but historically that has actually happened. But that just kind of proves my point. That just kind of proves my point that men don't look at women as human beings. Y'all just look at us as something to subject to your will. Because why would you think? Because why would a man even think just because he's bigger and stronger than me that
you are not talking? You are not Angry Man. Just give me just like 20 seconds and you got it. Before Ali and Angry Man go, my question is where? You can use Google, you can use ChatGPT, Gemini, Bing, Yahoo. Tell me one place in history where men said, woman, you have nothing, and women revolted by themselves, not with the help of other men, and they stopped they stopped the revolution. When was that?
Fatty, really quick, while she looks for that, can I say something? It's going to be pretty brief.
Yes.
So, Jazz, I'm going to say I agree with Angry Man, and this is why. Because it's just reality. No one's saying that it's right, but the reality is that men are more dominant than women. The reality is, and even like when you think about why the patriarchy started, essentially it actually was to protect women. Like, even if, I don't know if everybody believes in the Bible, even if you go back to like the Bible days, of like patriarchy. It was simply the man covering the woman and the kids and the children. And like, even if it was a family and say a husband died, the brother would then take on the responsibility of taking care of the wife and the kids, because it was for protection. It was to cover them. It was never meant to be a sense of taking away autonomy or overpowering them or trying to control them. It was essentially actually protecting them from other people, from other men that did want to harm them.
Right.
But I think that the issue is that a lot of women don't want to accept the fact that that's just reality, is that men are more dominant, and there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean that we're not capable of doing certain things. That doesn't mean that, you know, we can't become certain things or do certain things in life. It's just one of those realities where it's like, okay, yeah, men are more dominant, and that's the world that we live in. And I think it's just one of those things we have to accept. It is what it is. No one's saying that, and like we weren't created equal. That's just the reality.
Listen, I think she's right. She made some sense of it and you know, brought it back to where it needed to be. I think she's right that a lot of women just don't want to accept that fact. They want to have this hierarchy over men. They want to feel like they're better than men. They don't really want equality. They want to be in control. They have a superiority complex over men, black men. They think that they're the better species. They think that they're better, and because, you know, they keep using this idea that the patriarchy held them back as to some type of reason or justification as to why women are in the positions that they're in now. You still want a protection and provisions from a man, but you have the mentality now that you don't need them, but you still want them, and you still look at men as protectors and providers. You still look at a man in a traditional sense that stems from the patriarchy, but you don't want to be the traditional women, which you use the patriarchy to say, see, we don't want to do these jobs anymore. We don't want to be submissive housewives relegated to the kitchen. We want to go out and work and have our own autonomy and do all these things that men do, but you still want a man to be traditional when it comes to the finances. That's where you can't have that. So if you want to be a modern woman and you don't want to be hell bent or you know, monitored or controlled by a man, you don't have to be. Nobody's forcing that. You have the right to choose whether you want to be with a man, whether you want to be submissive. You have the right to choose. Nobody is stopping that. You make these choices. And now that women have the freedom to make the choices, they still complaining. You don't want those choices because you don't want every aspect of it. You only want parts of it. You want the parts that benefit you, and the other parts you want to have the freedom to do what you want. And that's just the bottom line. That's all it is. I don't care how you try to switch it up and flip it around. That's what it boils down to. Women have the freedom of choice now. Just scratch what the past used to be. Look at where we are now. You can choose to do what you want. And what they are choosing is not something that I would consider great and beneficial to society. It's not pushing us forward. It's not helping the future of our kids. It's actually going backwards, because the stuff that they are pushing and promoting is a bunch of bullshit, to be honest. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna try to put the link to the full video to Fatty and Ali's channel. You guys go over and support them and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Shout out to everybody on the panel. You guys go over and support them if you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.